Well, that's a nice little interlude leading into the interview with Vincent Melling, who's an author of Getting into the Flow, and how he learnt to live in magic and flow. And he says you can too. Good morning, Vincent.
Good morning, Judy-Ann.
Well, getting into the flow, what made you do it?
Well, it all came about through intuition, both the story about the trip that led to the book and also the creation of the book and how it was created. So let's try and find a starting point to unpack some of that, shall we?
Well, the first question, I think, needs to be told of the way that you've done this book is not as straightforward as just reading words and one chapter leading into another. What decided you to actually put key insights every now and again? Was that just to collect people's thoughts for the previous chapter?
Well, as you'll see, the book is very much a conversation between myself and my muse. It's kind of like conversations with God, only my muse is a lot more sassy. She's a lot more...
Your alter ego?
Fun, but she's very insightful as well. Because the information was presented in this conversational way, it just felt that it needed summarising and simplifying and bringing back so the key points really landed. And, very often people say that we need to receive information several times over in different formats so that it really lands. And that's why I did it. It was a wonderful suggestion from one of my editors, but when that came through, it just felt so on the money that, I did it. Yeah.
Well, I guess things happen to people, and I noticed on the cover, or the back cover, you're saying various things like, you work hard, you try to achieve what you set out to do, and suddenly it's sabotaged by yourself for some reason or other, and you don't get to do what you thought you'd be doing, and then you have to get back on track and find out where you went wrong and how you're going to fix it.
Exactly.
So,
carry on.
Yes, I was just saying that in the various chapters, and you go into all sorts of ways here, in chapter 1 you say, in which I complain about how the universe seems to favour everybody else.
Yes.
So you sort of start off with that and then try and sort that bit out. And I noticed in part of the book there was a key insight that you've put, and you've put it in yellow so that people can, and you've boxed it so that people can just achieve what they think they've just read in the previous chapter. And one of them says, aligning with the universe is like paddling a kayak into the flow of the river's current. Once you're there, the current takes you, and it takes very little effort to move downstream. So what do you make of that?
This is quite a visceral metaphor, and it's a metaphor that came to me when I was actually in a kayak and paddling downstream, and this kind of sense of this is what it's like when you're in the flow, and applying it back to this work, it just felt such a good metaphor. What I mean by that is that you feel both an inner surge of energy to do the work that's required so that, you're doing what you love and it's no longer like work. That's part of it. The other part of it is that, the universe will piggyback on that and throw into your path various synchronicities and coincidences and opportunities from left field that you never saw coming. And it will just help you on that path. And a very good example of that. The book tells the story of how I was led to go to Uluru, and then how the book was formed out of that through the harnessing of my intuition. But what the universe has thrown in front of me is that I got a message last week from a lady who runs the Conscious Conference in Uluru. It's every December around the time of the solstice. And she was looking for people to run affiliate marketing. So I said, yeah, I'd be up for that. And by the way, would you be looking for facilitators? So I've got the paperwork to get myself on the list for 2025. 2024 is all done and organised. And I thought, that's a lovely little piece of magic that's just a follow-on from the book. And that's the sort of thing that comes your way when you're in the flow.
Yes. And of course, stopping the flow is the question that you've posed, why humans are so good at sabotage.
Well, we do like to believe our own stories, but ultimately, humans seek safety, and they seek safety in their comfort zone, and it's a big illusion, this comfort zone that we seek our safety in, because it keeps us comfortable, but it stops us moving forward in life. And at the time, we don't see it. We don't see it in the bigger picture, but very often when we get to the end of our lives, as Bonnie Ware has documented in her wonderful book, one of the top regrets of dying people is that they lived their lives according to what the people around them wanted and not what was calling to them from inside. So what this book is about is to help people discover what's calling them on the inside and shift out of that comfort zone and into the flow.
Yes, it's amazing how sometimes you think, I think I'd like to go to Kilimanjaro, and I've trained and I'll go, and then maybe the parents or relatives say, oh no, it's too dangerous. You can't go there. You shouldn't. Oh no, of all the things. And they'll put all these things in front of the person saying why you shouldn't go. And that sometimes that can just totally sabotage yourself, that you're listening to other people that say why they can't go. Not so much that you can't go, but they wouldn't go. Would that be about right?
Oh, absolutely. And, family, they've got the best of your they've got the best of intentions at heart, and they're concerned for your safety and security, although very often it's a reflection of their own sense of insecurity. It's a reflection of that, but they will come in and stop you from doing things that you'd really love. And as you spoke that, I was thinking about my mother. My mother was born in Algeria in the times of the French, and the French ruled Algeria. And there were a lot of French people there. And after independence, it has become very difficult to go back. That's the perception. That it's very difficult, dangerous to go back. There are people with guns, there's ISIS around, all that sort of thing. And as a consequence, I've never visited my mother's home, my grandparents' home, even though I met a friend some years back. Her husband had actually been in that town and said, oh no, I worked there for a while. It felt reasonably safe. You take a few precautions, but it's okay. And so, there's always this message of stay safe, don't do that. And
has that made you, with the person that said to you, no, it was okay, if you take precautions, did that change your mind? Have you decided, well, okay, I will make that journey?
It certainly changed my attitude towards it. But making that journey and making other family journeys is not one of my priorities at the moment.
Right.
If that makes sense.
Is it on your bucket list?
Oh, it's definitely on my bucket list, yes.
Right. And there was another key insight I looked at here. Your limiting beliefs create patterns of behaviour that repeat over and over again. Would you like to enlarge on that?
Yes. Yeah, that's really good. That's really, really good. And I guess the best way to talk about it is to talk about my limiting beliefs around, building businesses and creating a flow of money. And I've noticed that I've had a belief that I've obviously been working on recently that I don't know how to make money, that it's almost something that's come to me from family, which is very strange because going back a generation or two on both sides, there was wealth in the family.
Yes.
But there was this real sense of being all at sea when it came to making money. And so I would go out and enlist help and get so far along the track. And then that help would kind of melt away and leave me stranded and not knowing what to do next. And I'd make a few half-hearted efforts to move forward. And then it would all collapse, yeah.
I guess if you have things that befell you so that you virtually create a situation where you're sitting in a chair and you're thinking, well, do I do this today or do I do this tomorrow or will I do it next week? Not, don't leave anything undone today that you can do it instead of tomorrow. You do it today and get it done, in other words. So I noticed here in another key insight, you get back into alignment by simply choosing to. You can do this by shifting your state, 3 to 4 deep breaths, holding at the end of both the inhale and exhale with help, tuning in to your intuition and taking whatever action it suggests. Can you clarify that?
Yes. So why 3 to 4 deep breaths? And sometimes it's called box breathing. But what we have found is, or what scientists have found is that if you slow the breathing and keep it down, you shift your neurology out of fight, flight and fight and freeze and into a more open neurology. I always get these the wrong way around, but it's the sympathetic and the parasympathetic nervous state of the nervous system, and you shift into the one that is going to open you up and make you more open to ideas. Now, when we're in flight or fight in particular, what we're able to perceive with our brain is very, very narrow. I think it's something like 1,500 bits a second, something like that. It's something really small, but when we're really open, we can take in billions of bits of information a second and process that really easily.
Well, we're speaking with Vincent Melling, author of Getting into the Flow. Yes, continue.
Yeah, so, the fight or flight is a very focused, very narrow perspective, and the physiology that you get into with the breathing is a much more open way of receiving information. And then you go into intuition. Now, what the book goes into is an exercise that will take you through some steps to get into a state of innocence, which is a place where intuition can begin to flow in. And then you obviously need to do some preliminary exercises, some basic level exercises. They're documented in the book. They're best done in a class training that will take your intuition up to a level where you can just click in and it's anchored and it's there. And then, you're well able to get that information coming through and get answers to your questions. Yeah.
Now, intuition, how important is that?
I believe it's profoundly important to us all. We're all intuitive. I've often had people come into the class and they say, "Oh, I'm not intuitive. I can't do this." They've been dragged there by their partner.
Yes.
And over the course of 4 or 5 days,
Yes.
we've been able to open that up and demonstrate to them. They've been able to demonstrate to themselves, which is even more important, how good they are at bringing through information intuitively. Now, the reason that it's important is that we can then go on and use this when we're visioning to get a true vision, a vision that's kind of aligned with our sole purpose. And we get a kind of snapshot of what we can see now that will give us our goals for the next 6-12 months or so.
Now, you mentioned that you run classes. Whereabouts do you run the classes and how often?
Well, the introductory classes I run with a couple of collaborators. We call ourselves the Academy of Intuitive Mastery. We run them 3 or 4 times a year. It's a Saturday morning and then a couple of evenings.
Right.
You can find them. I also run classes for people that have done the work as well. You can find them at vincentgmelling.com/events.
So if someone just put in Vincent Melling, would that come up?
As I said, it's vincentgmelling.com with that middle initial. If you just put Vincent Melling in, you may come across some older work of mine that I've put out there. So that's not being a little pedantic.
So Vincent G. Melling.
Melling.
Right, okay.
.com.
Yes, that's MELLING, listeners, .com. And all of those things will be listed. So you run the Saturday morning classes, do you? Did you say?
There's a workshop 3 or 4 times a year. There's one Saturday morning and then a couple of evening classes as well that completes that workshop.
Right. So all those details are online for people to look up. Now, the other thing is also when you go into yourself and you look at, there's another insight that you've got here, the core of choices end result can usually be expressed in 3 or 4 key words. Now, that's interesting.
Yes, and we have a way of formulating our goals, so we look at them as choices, and it's got a different energy to the words that I'm not going to go into on this call, but we look at our choices, and it's just like asking, what do you want that's true for you? So I'm just going to pick something out of my current list of choices, and it's getting a publishing deal for my next book.
Right.
And that's kind of the 3 or 4 words that are a nutshell. And sometimes people will want to go into big descriptive essay like creating a movement that's going to change hearts and minds around the world and all this sort of thing. And we're trying to get it back to, what's the core of it, and then what's the emotion that goes with that end result. Because the emotion is what's really powerful. And
how important is meditation for you and your readers?
For me, personally, it's important, but it's an individual choice, and I am sure that, if you go into doing one of these vision things, you will get a sense of where it sits in your own life. I often think that, meditation was kind of way out there for many, many decades, even before Yogananda. Then the Beatles came along and made it something that a certain part of society, a fringe part, embraced, and now, mindfulness is becoming mainstream. And my son works in a government lab in a university lab where the government is funding mindfulness research. Now, I see intuition following the same path because it's the next level up from meditation, because meditation is very receptive, but intuition can drive your life.
Right.
That's so powerful.
Yes. I mean, how often, as a little tacker, you would have said to yourself, oh, the thing I want from Father Christmas is a bike. You know, and you imagine the bike and you save towards it, or suddenly, Christmas there, it appears, at the base of the bed or beside the Christmas tree, and you think, I've got this, so a lot of it is wanting something so badly you imagine it and it comes to you by whatever means.
Yes, but again, we have to be very careful of, what we are told we want.
Yes, that's true.
I can remember as a kid that I always wanted to be an engine driver.
Oh, right.
Because I don't know, that's what I got from the people around me. There was a kind of romance to it.
Well, over in Eltham, they've got a little miniature, I don't know if it's still there, a miniature train line and train that you could sit in, or Puffing Billy. You might be a guest there sitting in the where the train driver is for 5 minutes or something. But it's... I just need to tell listeners, Getting Into the Flow is a Magic and Flow series, and you've called it How I Learned to Live in Magic and Flow, and how you can too. And you can go online, vincentgmelling.com. And where can people get the book, Vincent?
Well, if they go to that website and there's a yellow button at the top that says Get the Book, and they click there, it will take them to a page. If they want the hard copy, they can get it from me. If they want a Kindle version for an e-reader, there's a link on that page as well.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, good luck.
That's all you need, really.
Well, good luck with your projects, as they say. And thank you for joining us this morning.
Thank you very much, Judy-Ann, for having me on. It's been a real pleasure.
Thank you. We've been talking with Vincent Melling, who's an author of Getting Into the Flow and How I Learned to Live in Magic and the Flow. And you can too. So just go on to his website, Vincent G. Melling, MELLING.com, and you'll find out all about it.